Thank you, Rachel. Now in conclusion, let's take a look at everything we've covered throughout this campaign to further help you make a better career choice for your future career path, hopefully in the communications field. So we've presented you with numerous details throughout this campaign as to why you should join the communications field, such as the wide variety of career choices you have, the amount of famous people that have graduated with a communications degree, and the vast amount of different minors that are available throughout this degree. So our speakers actually covered three main communications tracks that YSU offers throughout this campaign. Now, the first of which, Mallory covered the interpersonal/organizational tract of the campaign. And this provides a thorough blend of theory and practice. And one that goes through this track could foresee themselves getting a future career in a field such as human resource manager, real estate, product buyer, business analysis, or even just a store manager. Then we moved on to Matt, who covered the media portion of the communications tract. And this media tract provides practical hands-on experience with new media technology and also touches with mass communication practices. So one who goes through this tract could foresee themselves getting a job in a field such as advertising, sports broadcasting, journalist, a writer, a producer, or even a director. And then finally, Rachel had touched on the persuasion tract of the communications field. And in this tract, students will grow to become a better public speaker, and they'll build their persuasion skills and their argumentative speaking skills throughout this tract. So one that goes through this tract could foresee themselves getting a career in a field such as political management, advertising, public relations, motivational speaker, lawyer, or even sales. So now that you have a better grasp on the communications field and the different tracks that we offer, I would like to thank you for your consideration to joining the communications field, and hopefully one day in the future a communications student will be using your name for an example of a famous person who has graduated with a communications degree. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how the group interacted throughout the campaign. Our group existed to simply accomplish a goal. We had to propose this campaign, and that would make us a secondary group, opposed to a primary group whose sole purpose is to fulfill that human need for interaction with one another. And a primary group would be something such as like family or friends, a social environment, where our group meetings were simply to accomplish a goal. So that made us a secondary group. Our group was also a decision-making group. Right off the bat, we were faced with having to make the decision as to which field we wanted to design our campaign around. And we went with the communications field, obviously, but that was a decision that we had to make as a group. We are also a problem-solving group. Once we decided to go with the communications field, we then had to solve the problem as to how do we recruit more people into this field. So we sat down as a group and brainstormed some ideas, and that's how we developed our campaign. We're also a problem-solving group because we hit numerous snags throughout the campaign, just as you would expect throughout a group project. Some little things here and there, but then we actually hit a pretty major snag near the end where one of our group members, Matt, actually did all of his research and all of his preparation to pitch a track that actually wasn't under the communications field. It actually ended up being under telecommunications. So we're lucky that we caught that beforehand and had to sit down as a group, and Matt really did most of the problem solving there and brought it up to us in our meeting and said, hey guys, I've got this issue. I can take care of it. I just want to make you aware. So that was another way that we had to sit down as a group and solve some problems. So now I'm going to move on to some of the characteristics of effective team members that I noticed throughout the campaign. And I was actually the group leader, so I noticed, a lot more looking in because I was, focused on the project as a whole, where, you know, sometimes if you're just a member of the group and you're not the leader, you might just focus on your portion, where I had to kind of oversee as much as I could. And so I might have picked up on a couple more things than other people may have. But one of the big things that I wanted to touch on here was problem solving skills. And as I noted earlier, as a group, I thought we did well with that, and Matt especially, having to overcome that hurdle in such a short period of time to basically redesign his entire presentation and all of his research in such a short amount of time. I mean, that was a phenomenal job by him. So then I'd like to also talk about openness. I feel like all of the group members portrayed, you know, this asset. We're pretty straightforward when we started our group meetings. We came out and said, look, you know, I can meet at this time on this day, or that won't work for me. And everybody was pretty straightforward. And that just made aligning meeting times a lot easier. Sometimes it did get a little jumbled where somebody would get held up at work, or, you know, somebody wouldn't be able to connect to the internet, or little snags here and there. But really overall, you know, the openness of people telling you, like, hey, this is what's going on, made the project go a little bit smoother. And then we'll touch on supportiveness. As I mentioned, I was the group leader, so there was a lot of, you know, the group members would ask me, hey, do you need help with this, or can I do this for you? And they're very supportive. And I actually had a deadline that I had to meet with completing the project a little bit before the due date. And I brought it up in a group meeting, and everybody's very supportive. I asked, you know, would it be unreasonable for everybody to have their stuff turned into me so we could get this done by Friday? And, you know, they were all supportive, and we were able to make it happen. Then we'll talk about the positive personality style. And this was, you know, just basically everybody was pretty personable. They were friendly, and that makes interacting in a group a little bit easier than being in a group with somebody that's standoffish or keeps to themselves more. So, you know, everybody had a good personality to them, and that made working within the group a little bit easier. And now we'll touch on the different communication styles that we use throughout the campaign here. And basically, we use virtual communication, which is communicating with one another from different physical locations. And this is a must when you're in an online class and you're working in a group online. You have to be able to do this. So we used multiple ways of accomplishing this. We started off with email. And it wasn't as effective because a lot of people don't check their email very frequently. So we started a group text, and that was working great. And that's a great, quick way to get information out. And then also we used the uvu, which was one of the group requirements. So that style of meeting, it's a little bit different. Some of the, you know, the learning curve to deal with working with uvu was a little tricky at first, but the group overcame that as a whole, and I felt like we did a good job. So basically, we used asynchronous messaging, which was something that is not heard or read when it's actually sent. It's maybe read after the fact. This would be like email or text, where they actually didn't see it right when you sent it, but they received the message later. And then we also used the synchronous messaging through the uvu, where there was no delay. It was a direct conversation back and forth through the uvu video. So overall, I thought that we did a good job on this group project. Covered a lot of information, and I'd like to thank you for your time. Have a great night.